Hey, welcome to another Emerald Hills Skies video tonight. We had thought that we would be able to live stream, but and we are live streaming, but we have a problem with our mount tonight, connecting to our mount. We use a kind of mount called, the mount, by the way, is the thing on top of the tripod that points the telescope. We use a kind of mount called an iOptron. It's the CEM70G. And here's the little thing that starts the iOptron mount. I'm going to just double click it and show you what happens. It appears on the screen just for a moment, just for an instant, and then it disappears. Now if I go to Task Manager, it doesn't appear here in the list of active programs. But if I go down here to processes, it does appear as a process. So it's as if it's not running. In other words, it doesn't show up on the taskbar down here, but it does show up as a process that's happening. So let's end task on that, and let's think this through. You guys can see down here in the lower right, there's the scope out there in the field. It's a RASA 11, and on top is one of these WISE Cam 3s that is looking up toward the sky, and it's trying to interpret the sky even though it's all dark. And look at that. It's illuminating the sky because of the moonlight, and it's seeing it really brightly. I think that's interesting. Anyway, let's go back now and let's look at this issue with the mount. I'll tell you what I think we'll do. The mount is not started right now, but let's open up SharpCap, and maybe there's a way we can at least let you see out the camera so you can see some stars. That would be at least fun, wouldn't it? Now let's think. It's going to try, when I launch this, it's going to try to find the mount, and it's going to hang up trying to find the mount, I think. Let's try it. Let's turn on the camera. Yeah, it's hanging up in its attempt to find the mount, and it's not finding it. And it's like timing out. So let's, if you can't beat them, join them. Let's end task on SharpCap. And let's try this a different way. Let's open up SharpCap and change the settings so it doesn't look for a mount at all. I think that'll work. Let's go to, where is that? Is it under hardware? Yeah, mount. And let's say none and save that. And I don't think we have to change the focuser. I think we can just ignore that. Okay, now let's try to connect the camera. And it's going to say, I can't find the focuser, I think. No, it found the focuser, of course, because the focuser's plugged in and it's working. Let's change the exposure to something like 4 seconds. And let's change the, there you go. There you go. So there's Polaris. This star up here is Polaris. In fact, I wonder if we can zoom in on that just a little bit. Oh, we got a little bit of focusing to do, don't we? You see how it looks double. But let's go ahead and do, see now, can we do focus without the mount connected? Let's try it. So I'm going to disconnect the camera and close SharpCap. And then let's go to Nina and see, are we going to have to tell Nina that can't remember. Are we going to have to tell Nina that we don't have this mount? Is that an option somewhere in Nina? To tell it what mount you have? And have I selected this mount at one time or another? Jeff, it's good to... Oh, there's Curtis. Good to see you on, Curtis. I don't know, Jeff and Frank, if you guys are still there. I told you to go to sleep. Yeah, I'm trying to troubleshoot a problem, Curtis. Thanks for stopping by. I can't remember, Nina, if I told it what mount I have or not. Let's go under Equipment. And you know I did. I'm bound to have told it what mount I had, right? But let's just try it. Let's go to where is that? Camera, RASA 8. Let's try to connect the camera. Oh, that connected, so that's good. Now let's try to connect the focuser. Okay, so we get at least autofocus, right? So let's go down to imaging and start autofocus. So there's Doris Taylor. VOI FYI. I don't know what that means. VOI. Very optimized igloo. I don't know what VOI stands for. Let's describe again the problem that we have. We can talk to the camera. We can talk to the focuser. We can talk to our WISE 3 security cams, our surveillance cams, so we can see the scope. We can see the moonlight up in the sky. That upper picture that you're seeing, I think you're seeing that on the lower right. Are you seeing that on the lower right? Yeah. That upper picture that you're seeing is the... are you seeing that? Wow, Jorge Calderón. Mucho gusto de Perú. ¿Estás en Lima o Trujillo o dónde? Anyway, let's see if we can get this on top. There, this picture that you're seeing right here on top is the sky. There's so much moonlight tonight. It's 99% moon. But that picture is a live view of the scope. And that's a live view of me. Let's go back to our auto-focusing routine that's going on in Nina. And what you're seeing here is the focus is taking a picture of the night sky and measuring the width of the stars. Actually, it's measuring the brilliance of half of the radius, to be exact. And then it's scooting the focuser over about 30 stops, and it's taking another picture, and it's comparing those. And this curve that you're starting to see form here is the graph of all that. Muy cerquita a Lima. Supongo que hay mucha polución de luz allá, entonces, si estás cerquita a Lima. Muy amable para tratar de decir que mi español es bueno, pero hace muchos años que no he usado el español, por eso está oxidando, pero de todo modo, gracias por estar. So, glad you're on here, everybody. I'm surprised, frankly, because I'm so late getting started. From 9:30 Eastern until 10:30 Eastern for the first hour, the sky was just full of clouds. And then at 10:30, we saw the pole star. We were able to get aligned by looking at the camera. But now we can't talk the mount yet. And in the spirit of the EAA slogan, what can possibly go wrong? I honestly think it's good for people to see that we all experience these problems sometimes. Everything, we all have things go wrong. So we're just trying to make the most as we can tonight. Jorge says he's on a farm away from the city. Menos mal, entonces, Jorge. Podría ser que el cielo tuyo es mejor que el cielo mío because I'm in the greater Louisville area, and our sky is bright here from the light pollution. It's typically Bortle 5 or 6. And then tonight, we've got all this moonlight as well. I don't know if we can put the... looks like we can put the scope on there, and you can see in that upper picture, it's a night view of the sky, but it's so bright. The security camera that we're using, the surveillance camera, is interpreting that moonlight almost as daylight. So that's how bright it is. But if you look very closely through the daylight, that's not daylight, it's moonlight. If you look very closely, you can see there are some stars there. So the autofocus routine has, I hope, bottomed out. And you can see what I hope will be the bottom of the hyperbole, here. Hopefully it's going to make a nice bell curve, and then after it's done autofocusing, it's going to return the focus motor. It's going to return the focus motor to that place where that red dot is here. See that red dot? It's kind of beginning to extrapolate that red dot is going to be the best focus of all. You know what Curtis Horn does when he can't get equipment working? He watches NSN. What is NSN? Night Sky Network, I bet. And you watch other people using their scope. So sorry about the clouds down there in Peru, Jorge, pero gracias por estar aquí con nosotros. Curtis, I wish I could help you troubleshoot, but I have very different equipment. I know, but I'm hoping that you'll be able to help here in a second. Look at our nice autofocus curve, though. This is beautiful, isn't it? I wish everything worked as well as this autofocusing routine works in Nina. I just want to say a note to the programmers of Nina. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Muchísimas gracias for making this routine. I think Queeve, the lazy geek, had a part in programming this. So Queeve and everybody else who helped make this autofocusing routine happen, thank you so much. I don't have to go out and put on a Botanoff mask. I don't have to try to estimate where that spike is in the middle of that X, because on a F2 scope, it's just too precise to do that estimating by graphics. It is much better to let math take care of this and let it calibrate the focus by the actual calibration. Let's see. Looking to see what you are seeing. I don't know if you're able to see this curve, but boy, it's a beautiful curve where I'm sitting. In fact, I think it's done, isn't it? Yeah, see how it says start autofocus? That means it's done. And it has returned the focus to stop number 30,068. 30,068, which is right there. Thank you, Nina. So now we're going to go back to equipment and disconnect the focuser and disconnect the camera. And then we're going to close Nina. Now we're going to try to open up SharpCap. And remember, we told SharpCap that we don't have a mount attached, which is pretty much our situation anyway. Yes, nightsky.network.com. Nightsky.network.com. Well, it's a good place to go, Curtis. I would love to get this working. Let's hook up the camera so we can at least see a view of the night sky here. And we're going to put our exposure on 4 seconds at, let's put it at 300 gain here real quick. So there's our night sky. That's Polaris. Look at those pinpoint stars now. Wonder if we could go ahead and run that up to 400 gain just so you can see those for sure. Yeah. And there's Polaris. So now if we just had a mount, the next step is to try to troubleshoot this mount. So I don't guess there's any reason to leave SharpCap running. It's just so that you know that we are very close to making everything work here. We just wish that the mount could work. The mount is what points us at different targets. Ok, Jorge, muchas gracias por estar. Gracias. Ojalá que sea algo para mirar. Hopefully there'll be something to watch. So good night from Peru. Okay. This is beautiful. I mean, this just makes me think there's so much up there we could see if we can just get this mount working. So let's disconnect the camera for now. There's no sense in leaving SharpCap running at all because what we've got is a problem with the mount. So now let's open up our task manager and make sure that the process for the mount is not running. It is running. Look at this. iOptron Commander. So we're going to end task on that process. And, you know, I might as well leave that just minimized because we're going to have to come back to it in a minute. Now here is the shortcut that normally starts the program to run the mount. And I'm just going to double click on it and see how it came up real quick and then it just vanished. Now let me tell you what I did. When I was out at the telescope earlier tonight and I could see the pole star and I was getting ready to polar align, I did like I've been trained to do. I tried to start the mount first and the little red software came up and it basically had the little link to automatically search. But in the past, I've learned that automatically search for the right USB, that can be unreliable. And it's more reliable if you know the right USB connection for the mount. So I knew it wasn't 4, I knew it wasn't 5. So that just left 6, 7, and 8. So I manually searched for 8, and it came back and said, I can't detect anything from my iOptron on 8. So then I used the drop down and I changed the COM port that I thought I would try next, which I tried 7. And then I tried iOptron Commander, and that's when it started disappearing. So apparently when it searches for something on port 7, it goes out into oblivion and it doesn't give the negative report, but at the same time, it doesn't come back. So it could be, for example, finding, I don't know, the Could it be finding the eye polar? No, the eye guider scope, for example. It could be finding that. So let's try something. Let's open SharpCap up again. And or if I remember right, SharpCap doesn't have a driver for iOptron, but we could open up PhD2, PhD guiding. Frank, thanks and good to have you aboard. I did try immediately after I tried running iOptron Commander as administrator, and it made no difference. So thanks for thinking of that. Let's connect the iGuider camera to PhD2. Not so we can do any guiding, but so it'll tie it up. So you see, this is the iOptron applet that iOptron gives you so you can see what is in iGuider. And so there it is. I mean, we're not seeing the preview, but I think that's because we don't have the mount chosen. And I can't try connecting to the mount here because the mount isn't started in ASCOM yet. So let's just leave that camera tied up. Now, can we minimize this? Is that going to minimize? And let's minimize. Okay, let's close this and minimize that. So I think the camera is tied up now. And let's go to here and in task on the iOptron Commander again. So now we've tied up the iGuider camera just in case it's on port 7. And let's, no, it still came up real fast and then it vanishes. Simon T just joined. Is this issue with the mount the same you were experiencing several weeks ago? It is, Simon. It's the same exact issue. I think tonight what got me in trouble is I actually tried to manually pick which port, and perhaps it would have been better to let it automatically try to pick. But the fact that it came up and showed me that it was ready to pick with automatic is almost always, I think it's an indicator that it didn't work on automatic pick. If it automatically knows what port to pick, then when iOptron Commander comes up, it just comes up with the view of the mount already connected. So it already did this vanishing act. And it wasn't able to pick it by the automatic approach. Now in the past, when I've used the drop down and I found the right port, then it, if I get lucky and find the right port, then it starts. That's the iPolar software, not Commander you just had open. Yes, correct. I was trying to tie up the iGuider camera in case that was the port that iOptron Commander was confusingly connecting to. But that obviously didn't work because it still executes as if it's a process. See, here it is, it's in the process, but it doesn't execute as a program. So we might as well close the guider because we know now that that didn't help. So let's disconnect from that. I would try to uninstall the drivers and then reinstall from a complete refresh. Now what you're talking about is the iOptron Commander driver, I think. Not the ASCOM driver, right? all drivers. So you're saying even ASCOM. Oh, yes. I'm on Windows 11, yes. And that's when I think maybe it started going bad, but they also did a major upgrade. October 26th or something. It was a integer 1 kind of upgrade. They took it to version 7.0.0.0. And there is no 0.1 yet. 7.0.0.1 or whatever. There's no 0.1. So Simon says, yes, iOptron drivers. Okay, so let's do what Simon says. Simon says, upgrade the driver, so let's try it. So I'm going to go to, first of all, we did just clear it out of, yes, so it's not active right now. So let's go to the control panel. And let's uninstall the iOptron Commander and ASCOM driver. Curtis says, okay, one thing at a time. Right. Now we could uninstall the iGuider ASCOM driver too, but I don't think that's a problem. I mean, we just had it up and it was working. So let's just uninstall this. Can you confirm the USB ports are working with a separate device? Yes. In a way, we did that by firing up the camera. But I don't know what other driver will talk to the iOptron USB port, but I see them in this little thing called USB D view. And look at that. When it's green, that means it's connected correctly. And look at all those ports that are connected correctly. iOptron Polar. Who knows what all these are? There's the camera. A bunch of ports here. Who knows what all those are? Tons of things are connected though. But you see something's on COM 4. That's the focuser. The focuser is on COM 4. Something's on COM 5. FT230X basic UART USB serial converter. So frankly, COM 5 might be the mount. Windows 11. Have you tried running in compatibility mode for Windows 11? I think I did. I switched it down to compatibility mode to 8. Is that what you mean? Let's reinstall it and try. So now we're going to minimize this and close that. Now I'm going to go over to downloads and search for that iOptron 7000. Now just to make sure that you guys agree, let's go here to iOptron Commander download. You can see here, that's not the right one. iOptron driver, that's not the right one either. iOptron Commander and ASCOM driver. No, that's not the right one either. iOptron Commander downloads. See, this is interesting. Oh, it says it won't support CEM70 anyway. That's not the right one. Let's just go up here under support. Let's go to iOptron ASCOM driver. And then let's pick CEM70G. Simon says download a fresh copy. Okay. So I'm going to go back to my download folder, and I'm just going to erase this. Whoops, I just started it. Do you want to allow it? No. The fact that it's there tells me that the new one will have one of those ones after it, which is kind of bothersome. iOptron. Let's erase all those. Okay. So that's closed. Okay. Okay, so here we are. ASCOM driver and commander for CEM70 was updated 10.16, and it's version 7.0.0.0.0.0.0. So there it comes. LCXT9. My goodness, thank you for sharing your time with us. It's on the first page you had open. This page, correct? Okay, so let's show that in the folder. iOptron ASCOM driver installer 7000. Okay, now before I double click that, I'm going to wait, Simon, to make sure you like this. I want to make sure that you agree it's the right one. There's a little delay between when I'm seeing things and you're commenting on them. It's about 10 seconds in the streaming delay, the latency, sending it up to YouTube. So I'm going to just make sure that you see this and that you like it. Can you believe 10 of you are out there watching me try to troubleshoot my mount? For this, I'm very grateful because I don't feel so alone in this. Simon says yes. Okay. So we're going to double click this driver. And we're going to say run anyway. Yes. I accept. Install. We don't need to view the history. Okay, so I think it's installed again. So let's close that page and minimize that. Now, let's go to magnifying glass, iOptron, and before I execute this, I want to make sure that we all agree this is what I should be executing. 12:42 here in Oz, so no issues, just having lunch. Wow, you're all the way down in Australia, Simon. That's just wild. That baffles my mind. I want to make sure that I'm going to click on the right thing because this technically says iOptron commander for CEM 120, 70, 40, 26, etc., etc. But I think that's the only thing I have going on here. I could try. How can I look at what I just installed in Windows 11? Oh, sure am. Yes, that's crazy. Windows 11 changed this. But I think it's because iOptron has not programmed their app as something, let's say all apps. And then let's scroll down and find, see, they don't program iOptron Commander to make it show up in the normal list of apps. Those rascals, at least as far as I can see, the only way to get it to show up is to search for it as if it's an app that's more like a utility. And what ports are shown in Device Manager at the moment? Okay, so we're going to go to Device Manager and look at ports. We have a 7, which is an Intel Active Management Technology, SOL COM7. So that must be the port that's tying up the iOptron commander. Since I changed that drop down to COM7, it's looking at COM7, and that's keeping it so busy it can't compute. And then you see there's a standard serial over Bluetooth link COM6 and a standard serial over Bluetooth link COM8. Those are worthless, aren't they? And then there's a COM4 and a COM5. So we could disable these standard serial over Bluetooth links if those are worthless. Like, what? Disable device? What do you think, Frank? Or maybe something under properties? So when the delay catches up, Frank, let me know what you think I should do here, because I don't mind disabling these. At this point, I have nothing whatsoever to lose. But I hate to rush ahead of you. And then, Simon, is it your understanding that that link that shows all those different mounts, including 70, is the one I should click on to start the app? I'm clueless. But the telescope looks nice out there. And the moonlight's crazy. Who knows? Frank, the Intel Active Management COM7 SOL stands for Serial over LAN. Is that the box that manages your USB over Ethernet? It's possible. SOL, Serial over LAN. There's a shortcut on your desktop. Okay, so should I try that first before I do this? When I uninstalled, oh, look, it's over here. Okay, so there's the new shortcut, and it does say for CIM 120, 70, 40, 26, and GEM 45, 28. So I think they must have just named it that to make it a kind of a catch-all. So let's try this. Same thing. It activates quickly, and then it goes and vanishes somewhere. Now, here's what's sad. Like I say, the first time I activated it, it just couldn't find things. And it was stuck in that mode of I'm auto-detecting and I can't find anything. Then I moved the drop down, and the first one I picked didn't work. And it came back and said, I can't find anything iOptron on there. The second one I picked is doing this. It's keeping it busy or something. Click it, that's the right one. So I take it that's what I just did. So let's go back to the task manager and end that task. Now let's go to Frank's idea and let's delete these standard serial over Bluetooth links. Because I can't imagine that they're helping us. Let's at least disable them. Maybe we can re-enable them later. Let's try it. Disabling this device will cause it to stop functioning. Do you really want to disable it? So COM8 has a little picture that looks like a ground, I think, in front of it now. Disabled COM6. Have you unplugged the USB cable from the mount to do a before and after of the COM ports that are in the device manager? Are you remoting into a machine by the scope, or are you using a long USB cable? Neither. I'm not remoting into a machine by the scope, and I'm not using a long USB cable. I'm using an iOptron, an Icron Raven. And the reason why I have, it is the laptop, Curtis. The reason why I have confidence that that device is working, because the indicator lights are showing me USB 2 is solid, USB 3 is solid, and it worked for 10 months using an EQ6R Pro by Skywatcher mount. It worked perfectly over a Skywatcher, and it worked for the first month on this iOptron Commander. So I'm reasonably confident that that's not a part of it. Another reason I'm confident is because when I go out to the scope and I plug the mount in with a 6-foot USB 3 cable directly into the laptop, it does the same thing. So I think that takes the Icron Raven out of the loop. Bluetooth has nothing to do with your issues. I would leave them alone. Well, I already stopped them. Was the laptop shipped with Windows 11? No, but it worked on Windows 11 intermittently. So there you go. It did work. It has worked some, as you know, because I've been live streaming. Okay, with those two links deadened, I don't know what this Intel Active Management Technology SOL thing is, but let's try this idea. Well, in the spirit of disabling one thing at a time, let's just disable the Bluetooth first. And now let's make sure that it's not in our task. Is the Raven same as a mini PC? No. The Raven has a device at your local laptop indoors here where I am that converts the signal to a Cat7 cable and guarantees USB 3 and USB 2 and USB 1 bandwidth. And then you can run up to 100 meters of Cat7, and then there's another remote device out at the field side, the scope side. And at the scope side, it opens up 4 ports that you can run like a USB hub to whatever you want to power out there. And keep in mind, though, before you ask more questions about the Raven, I get the same exact behavior when I start the computer from a cold boot at the scope and use a simple 6-foot USB 3 cable, brand new cable. So the Icron Raven, I don't think is the cause. It just lets me be in here in the warm instead of outside. Motherboard drivers, etc. Yeah, I think everything else is working. You might check to see if there are new drivers to your laptop to support Windows 11. I've checked that regularly. I do my updates regularly with Windows, and they're all good. Yes, I've tried bypassing the Raven and using the laptop directly with the mount. Yes, that's the answer. Okay, so now we've disabled the Bluetooth. Let's try this. Nope, stay. Oh my goodness. Do you see what I see? So disabling the 2 Bluetooth drivers brought up the iOptron Commander screen. So here we are. It's 11:53. So 1 hour and 20 minutes, right? 2 hours. 2 hours and 20 minutes after the time we're going to start this, we finally can see the mount. Now, the problem is we have to figure out which port it is, apparently, to connect it. And we can see 4, 5, and 7. And we know it's not 7. Now let's go to our fancy USB DView thing. COM4 is the Celestron focuser, and COM5 is this thing. So let's try COM5, shall we? Because COM7 is what got us into trouble, and besides now that's disabled. Maybe there was a port conflict. Yeah, with those Bluetooth ports. As the choir of angels starts to sing, oh, that's right. That's right, Frank. Well done. Oh, Simon, thank you for the encouragement. Okay, so I don't mind trying auto detection, but I don't think it'll work. But let's try it. Oh my goodness. What we have here, folks, is a connection to the mount. Now look what they tell you to do. You click on this little box and that brings up this thing. We can see that the mount, for instance, the GPS is working correctly. It's 12:20. Actually, that's 12:20 at 12:56. Why would that be? Because isn't it just 11:56? Oh, is this daylight savings time? Or is it not? Boom shakalaka. Frank. Why is it that the mount thinks it's 12:26? 12:56. And my watch says 11:56. And the phone says 11:56. What time is it? Eastern time. Shouldn't this be saying, is it daylight savings time right now? Let's open up the web. And let's say, are we in daylight savings time? Begins on Sunday, March 14th, and it ends on November 7th. We're not in daylight savings time. Wait for GPS. GPS okay, it says. This is a little bit bothersome. The mount thinks it's 12:57. Simon says, wait, Doug. What if I sync from PC time? My PC says 11:58. Let's just do that, because that GPS time is not correct. Check the box and it will probably go forward. Which box? There's a box for sync with PC time. Check what box, Curtis? You guys got to be a little bit more exacting here. Which box? If it does to 157, something is wrong. Let's just say sync from PC time, because the GPS time is wrong. Let's just do this. Sync from, okay, so that's what I did. Sync from PC time, and it changed to 23:59. So now we're synchronized. Yeah, but we're not in daylight savings time, right, Curtis? So I don't want to misinform it. Now, while we're here, let's go to 0 position and say, set current position as 0 position. That is a checkbox next to DST, but I don't want to check it because we're not in DST. You guys are freaking me out here. You're making me wonder, are we in the Twilight Zone DST or something? Okay, now I think we can enable tracking now, right? Bam. Tracking is enabled. Okay, I'm just going to pause here. Thank you, Lord Jesus, for good friends that help me not to feel lonely at a time like this. Thank you for the idea that Frank had to open up Device Manager, which at least showed us those 2 ports that had something with Bluetooth in them. And then thank you, Lord, for this idea to disable them, wherever that came from. Thank you for victory. I feel like we ought to quit while we're ahead. Move cursor down a bit. Isn't there a box there? Stroke of midnight. Oh, yep. You're right. 0038. Okay, now I think we can minimize this now. And it enables tracking automatically when you start guiding. But see, I don't normally guide with EAA. But that's helpful to know for the future. All right. Now let's think. Let's close some of these things. We don't need this open anymore. I'm going to go to my little notes, which is in Notion. And I'm going to say here under current rig, troubleshooting this mount. I'm going to say on December 20th, 2021, we were able to solve the start and vanish problem by opening Device Manager. Thank you, Frank. And disabling the ports associated with Bluetooth. That's all I got to put. And I'm going to move this up to the top of this just so it's right in front of me in case this happens again. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Now let's just close this end task deal. We don't need that right now. And I think we can close those and this. Aw, shucks. Okay. Now let's open SharpCap. Let's go back to our preferences. Settings. And under hardware, let's tell it, okay, so after all, we do have a mount. And it must be this one. I'm thinking. Okay, so the world didn't end. Now let's try to open the camera. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, Lord. Thank you, Frank, for thinking of Open Up Device Manager. Let's set the camera on 4 seconds. That's a beautiful screen. Boy, it's been so long since I saw this, 2.5 hours. I don't even know what to do with that. So that's all connected now. Now let's try, another thing I wanted to try tonight was opening up Starry Night Pro. And this is the first time in my rediscovery of Starry Night Pro. It's the first time that, open up my preferences file here. It's the first time I've had Starry Night Pro so that I can try a telescope. So let's try telescope setup. Let's configure iOptron is correct. Let's try to connect to the telescope. Wow, it's connected. Now, let's center on Polaris. Oh, it won't do it with this open. Okay, so we centered on Polaris. Now let's open up telescope control again. No, telescope setup again. And let's say align on gaze. Oh, rats. That didn't work. So the align on gaze must not be the right deal. Okay, so let's try opening up telescope control. Oh, it says telescope is not connected. Telescope setup, connect. Telescope is tracking the sky. Well, it does look like the mount moved a little bit. Let's show you guys this. The mount, it looks like it might have swiveled a little bit to the left. What do you make of that? I'm not going to set slew limits right now because that's built into iOptron. Starry Night is not free. This is Starry Night Pro, and it's like $150 or $100. Need to open your mount driver too. I thought we had that open. Telescope. Okay, so now it's connected. And let's say follow scope. So supposedly whatever we go to, it's going to look at. So let's go to something like nearby, M31. M31, and let's say, are we ready to do this? Do we trust this? No, we don't, because you know why? It says there's a center indicator, and it is not. The center indicator is not there. So the telescope is somewhere else. In Starry Night's opinion. So why can't I say align to gaze? Sorry it is open, but try and turn off tracking on iOptron driver. But we want it to track on the Optron driver, don't we? I think we want the iOptron driver tracking. That's where we get our tracking knowledge. It's not from Starry Night Pro. It's from the mount, I believe. Because remember, we can use several programs to control the mount. We need to find out where this telescope is pointing and why. So let's back off enough to kind of see the night sky a little bit. And let's just look around here. Oh, look, follow scope. Let's disconnect that for a second. And let's look around till we find a little telescope indicator. Who knows where it could be, but it's not pointed at the North Pole, is it? Unless that's it. Is it that little thing there? Maybe that's it. You think? Could that be it? I bet that's it. Look on SharpCap if your camera is still connected. Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Okay, let's go back to Polaris. Center. And we're actually not centered on Polaris, are we? We're centered on the pole. Can I go to the celestial pole, I wonder? What would that be called? Pole? The northern pole? Ah. Look up here, it says the mount is still up there. That's where the mount is. So this is not synced with Starry Night yet. So let's go back to Polaris. Center. Now let's say follow scope. Now let's go to something very close so that we don't tear something up. Let's just go to, boy, do we dare go to, we need to go to something that we'll recognize though. Polaris flare, how about that? So let's try it. Let's just try going to M31. You ready for this? We're going to try this? Let's try it. Let's close this so we can watch what's happening. I don't think we need that open anyway. And let's try it. Nothing. Oh! So, yes, polar alignment's done. I wonder if our, oh yeah, our thing wasn't keeping up. But you see in our updated scope view, the scope did move and nothing crashed. It didn't crash into the tripod. Now on Starry Night, we're right, this is confusing. I don't know why this field of view is over here. This is a field of view indicator, and that's the scope. So let's go back to SharpCap at this point. And let's plate solve with correction. 2.8 degrees off. That's probably why. Yeah. Now let's go back to, no, it didn't change that field of view indicator. So it's a little bit of a hassle, isn't it? I'm going to have to fix that. Oh, looky there. When I zoomed in, it got it closer. Now, just to check myself, notice that wasn't the M31 in the middle of the exposure? Yes, it was. It was M31 in the middle of exposure. Now, just to check ourselves, in Starry Night Pro, the current orientation that I have guessed has M32 on the bottom side of a near vertical M31. M31 is tilted a little bit to the left. Now let's go back to SharpCap and let's set this on something like, what, 20 seconds? And this on something like 100. Oh, you know what? We need to load our there we go. Didn't have the right camera profile loaded. 20 seconds at 100. And let me name this M31. And let's look at one frame once it comes in. Boy, that's not extremely exposed, is it? But I think, let's go ahead and go to 30 seconds. See if we can get a few more stars in the picture. Curtis is saying 200 gain. I know, but I get more dynamic range if I stick at 100. Remember, this is the ZWO ASI2600MC Pro, and it has 2 extra stops of dynamic range if I stay at 100. You want gain past the 4 times. Okay, I think that'll do it. Let's just try it here first and see what happens. Okay, checking. You're going to check the envelope, aren't you? Okay. Now that looks weird, doesn't it? Let's do a reset here and a reset here and an auto stretch and a color balance. And let's bring down our blue a hair. Let me check in this. I'm using this new image control deal after that guy from Canada. What's his name? Jim Thompson. Yeah, he told me to keep this white balance red on 65 or 75, and I have it on 65. He said to keep the white balance blue on 65 or 75, and I have it on 65, and the brightness on 150, and that would balance out the green of this Celestron light pollution filter. Let's assume that's not bad and bring this over to right there. You know what else? Remember, we have 99% moon tonight. So I think our colors are going to be wacko anyway. Curtis says maybe 101 or 105 for the gain. You're right, it's down at near 100, so be above that slightly to make sure. What? You're saying put this on 101 or 105? But then I won't get my 2 extra stops. I test it, see if you go below 100, like 99, it changes significantly. Okay, I don't think it will, but I have my, I don't know, remember if I'm using pre-product. I'm using darks, and I think I shot darks at 100 gain. Boy, I hate to get off of 100, but if this doesn't work, then I'll certainly, let's do this again. Let's just do auto color balance. Oh, that's actually not bad now. The auto color balance is actually decent. And then this, I don't know where to set this. I just don't think it's a great night to image M31 with the moon being that close. Now, remember what I said. Don't you think this is the more natural view in Sharp Cap? The more natural view of what we want to see, at least the way the scope is oriented right now. And let me get the scope view back on the image so you can see it. See how it's weights down. And I think this is the view that we want. We've got M32 here and M110 out here. I think this is 110. I think this is M32 here. So I think this is the way we want it to look. This is the more natural look of without flats you will have vignetting. I have flats shot, but I just don't trust them. Let me get rid of that. And I don't think I have that much vignetting actually, but we can try. Well, I can't on this live stack, can I? Anyway, that's 4 minutes and 30 seconds. And on a 99% moon night, when I didn't even plan on doing galaxies or nebulae anyway, I'm happy just to be oriented. Right now, I just want to get the, let's think about the way I need to change things in Starry Night Pro to get our orientation correct. So let's go back to Starry Night Pro. We want to have a near natural 45-degree angle with 110 lower right. So that means we want to, wow, can I just move this right here? I can. Look at that. Wow. Does your planetarium program do that? Okay. Near 45-degree angle, I said. Near 45-degree angle. Now that's interesting. Let's put it at, oh, that's too steep, huh? Let's go back to Sharp Cap and let's look again. Yeah, it's near 45. Lower right. That looks close. Okay, good. Now, The other thing I want to do is come here to now notice what we can do now. Let's start our observation session. Well, it should be already started, shouldn't it? See, here are the sessions, and it was alleged to start at 8 p.m. and we have it going until 2 a.m. So the session is in progress the moment I make my first observation. So let's just go right click, new observation, and look, it automatically chose the session, session 40, Christmas clusters. And it puts the date and the time here. And I'm going to say at 99% moon, M31 looked flooded with weird lighting. But still, we were happy just to see it in the frame, since this was in the frame. Okay. And let's say it's that telescope assembly. All right. And so what we're doing now is we're leaving AstroPlanner completely out of the picture. AstroPlanner is gone now. How about that? Okay, now we're ready to start our observing list. So let's go to, what's the easiest way to see that list? So this combines Stellarium and AstroPlanner. Very neat. Exactly. And once we get good enough at it, we'll paste the picture that we took in place of the one that came with Starry Night Pro. Let's go back over to SharpCap and stop the live stack. And notice I have to minimize whatever was in front of Starry Night Pro. Let's look at our session. And I think one way, look at our observing list. One way to look at the observing list is to let's see. How do we look at the list? I guess we look at it over here. So if I put in Christmas, observing lists. So look, it automatically found observing list Christmas tree cluster. What is it doing? Oh my goodness, is it going to the first? How do I break out the list and see the list? Oh, look, that's Christmas tree cluster. Sorry. Never mind. Christmas clusters globs. So this is our list, and the ones that are grayed out are below the horizon, presumably. So let's first of all center on this and see where it is. BOLD 195. ZWO site says your camera HCG mode is on when gain is 100. I just tested since you're using SharpCap. I personally don't always trust software. No, I've been doing that, and 100 is the best setting. If I'm on 100, it does things that you can't do in other places. Some tests you might want to run another time. Yeah, but it does do the short exposure, high gain things too. It's just you don't draw out all those nice filaments when you're doing that. Let's see the info on this object called BOLD D195. So it's a globular cluster, and it's inside it's inside of M31. So I tell you what, let's do. Let's zoom in on it. And this is going to show us where this bowl thing is. It's over on the left-hand side. How are we supposed to see? Oh, I'm keeping on my gaze, remember? So I can't move that because this is showing me exactly what the telescope is seeing. So we're going to go back and we're going to try to look inside of M31. And notice what you can do. Select other, bold D195, and it lets me pick that. So I think what let's do is let's center on that. So you must have to be off to the left here. Yeah. No, it's not letting me see. So what if we say slew to it? Slew to it. Now, it did. It moved the telescope slightly. Oh, I love this. So the telescope and the planetarium program are aligned. They are one. And whenever I try to move the planetarium software somewhere else, it gently nudges it back because it says, hey, you can't do that because we're going to see whatever the telescope is seeing. Now let's zoom in a bit more. I think that's... Oh, something happened. Oh, there we go. We passed up the graphic. So right there is the closest we can get. It's here at the edge of these filaments. Boy, we sure picked a hard globular cluster to start out with. But I do see several stars there. Let's go back to SharpCap. And let's put this name in just for fun. It's BOLD 195. What does that mean, BOL? Boulder Dash? What does that mean? So let's go to SharpCap. BOL, was it 195? Is that the way that went? Oh, I have to minimize the program in front of BOLD 195. BOL 195. And clear the last object. And now let's use Curtis's idea. Oh wait, we should have done it before we live stacked. Let's set this on 4 seconds at 400 gain. And let's plate solve. Oh, 0.02 of a degree off. Nice. All right, so now we're ready to start live stacking. Clear the last stack. Bowl refers to entries in the revised Bologna catalog of M31 globular clusters and candidates. You've got to be kidding me. M31 has its own list of clusters and candidates? That's crazy. My goodness, look, we're way overexposed here. Let's do this and this. And this and this. By the way, let's reset this. Not much help there. Oh, my goodness. Ah, look. This is not stretched correctly. I'm just going to stretch this manually. That looks like my dark is off. I'm going to stop live stacking and go to pre-processing and set this dark to none. And for right now, let's save that to our capture profile. And let's start the live stack over again and clear it again, because that dark was not helping us. A cluster in another galaxy is going to be very difficult. Oh my goodness, look at that. This is high grain, but that's because we're at 4 seconds and 400. A cluster in another galaxy is going to be difficult. What about this? I wonder if when we... Yeah, we're still good there. 4 seconds. What I was hoping to do is let the 4 seconds get us past all the dust and we would just see stars. So here's the question. How do we zoom in and find out what's the globular cluster? Here's my theory. What if that is the globular cluster? Is that tight enough? Let's check and make sure these are centered. That one wasn't quite centered. There. So that globular cluster is supposed to be right in the middle. Right here in the middle. Let's go find a look at this. BOL D195. And let's go to images. Cluster. Oh, nobody has any pictures of it. Those rascals. So how can we know? You can use the crosshairs feature in SharpCap to know where the center is. That's a good idea. They are right here. Too many crosshairs. Single crosshair. Okay. Now let's zoom in. See, that's starting to be either more noise or more dust. That should be pointing right at it, I think. It's not that whole thing, I don't think, is it? Let's see if we can make this a little bit darker. Still kind of noisy. Or is that the... That's the nebulosity starting to come out, isn't it? So looking at just stars... This doesn't look very globular, does it? Looks more like an open cluster to me. But it is kind of a cool looking a cool looking cluster of stars behind that. Is that a piece of dust on my screen? Yeah. That's the best I see. All right, let's save this and count that as okay. We looked at it, and let's not spend too much time on any one of these, because the idea that was already 4 minutes. Let's go to the next one. Oh wait, let's do an observation here. New observation. To be super honest, all we could see was something like an open cluster. And then we're done. That's going to be a lot faster than, let's uncheck that. Now, what is G1? Shall we salute to it? Because it won't let us center to it. Let's trust the scope. Let's back off. Oh, it didn't move very far. So do you think that Starry Night Pro was smart enough to arrange the clusters close with each other? That would be awesome, wouldn't it? If Starry Night Pro arranged the clusters close. Okay, so now we're looking at cluster G1, and I trust that G stands for globular. So let's go over to SharpCap and say G1. Oh, I hadn't stopped live stacking. Sorry. G1. Let's change this to maybe more like what? 10 seconds? And let's put this on 200, which is what Curtis originally proposed. And let's plate solve. You guys in the Northern Hemisphere have some cool targets. Well, you guys in the Southern Hemisphere do too. You've got the Magellanic Clouds, and you've got, what is that giant globular? Omega Centauri, I think it's called. It's the biggest globular of all. It's like 1 degree big. So you've got some great things in the Southern Hemisphere. We were 1/100ths off. It's synced. So I think we're ready to start live stacking. Let's clear the last live stack. Now, while we're waiting on that to live stack for a second, let's zoom in here. Whoopsie daisy. Now that should correct, shouldn't it? Yeah. That's pretty fancy. There's no image of this. So we got to go find an image of a G1. Yes, but I've shot them all. How long have you been in this business, Simon? So we're going to search for G1 globular cluster. Ooh, look at that. So G1 is again inside of M31 somehow. Ah, Frank's right. I didn't even mention Eta Carinae. Okay, we played solved, so let's go back to SharpCap. I think we should have started out with some easier globs. Because who knows? Oh wait, we can do this. And this. Nice. That's better. We should set up each other's rigs for remote control. Frank wants to control your rig, Simon. Do you think this is the glob? The globular cluster? It's spread out if it is. Or do you think it's so tiny? Okay, I'm going to save a picture there. And I'm going to stop live stacking and come over to here and say, oh, I keep forgetting. We have to minimize what's in front of G1. New observation. This looked like an open cluster 2. Yikes. Let's do G280 just because it's there, but I'm a little nervous that it's going to be the same. Let's back off a little bit. Yeah, it basically just went to another part of M31. And look how, as I zero in, it nudges, it compensates. So there's another globular. I wonder if these are only visible in the Hubble Space Telescope. Okay, so G280. Let's go back here and plate solve. It is 12:46. You guys might have to work tomorrow. Now there is a bright light in the middle of that. Could that little tiny bright light be this globular cluster? Surely not. We were just 1/100th of a degree off. See that light there? I just wonder if that's it. Yeah, I bet it's right there. And if you had a 3200 focal length telescope, you would see it. We'll go ahead and live stack just a little bit. Was this G1? I can't remember. Yes, this was G1. Clear. Anyway, thank you guys for sticking with me through this. I think I am going to go on and stream for a while or observe for a while. But with it being 1:45 a.m. for you guys in Eastern time zone, namely Frank, I think you should probably hit the sack if you got to work tomorrow. Okay, we're at 10 seconds and a gain of 200 now. Let me see if I can darken up this sky some. Let's do another color balance. That's pretty good, actually. And see, that could be a globular right there that the Hubble Space Telescope could see. Or a globular is something here that we're not seeing. We're zoomed in at 100%. That's auto. That's like all the way out. And the crosshairs are right there. So if we go to 100%, Frank, I like that idea of the crosshair. Well done. Because that does let us put it right in the middle of the... Now there could be a globular. Boy, that's really pushing it. Okay, we're going to save this exactly as seen. I think that's it. Tiny, tiny, tiny. What happens if I go to like 400%? I think it's right here. I know that's very pixelated, but I'm up at 4.5 hours. I'll get the espresso going soon. Frank, you got to go to take a nap. Come on. It's 12:48 for me, so I think I'm good for another hour. At 2 a.m. I'm going to pack it in. But I think I will live stream for a while longer because I was so happy to get this solved. I hate to stop. I don't want to quit while I'm ahead, you know. All right, let's go back out here. Let's save that. Save the stack. And stop live stacking. And let's go back to our, boy, I love this. Now I wonder if we show info. Finally saw what we thought might have been the tiny Hubble telescope version of the cluster. So I can add to an observation. This is so much handier. Look at this G280. Let's skip him and let's go straight to M79 because I don't think these are going to be very visible. But let's try it. G280. Oh, that's another one inside of. It's another one inside. I don't think we're going to be able to see it. Who made this list of globular clusters? Was this like Herschel or somebody? Let's plate solve. I am so thrilled to get this working. Hallelujah. Offset less than 5,000th of a degree. No synchronization needed. Hallelujah for that too. So let's start live stacking. 6 of you out there. I don't know who the 6 are. It could be that Curtis might have left YouTube open. Simon might still be there. Frank's there while you're making coffee. Maybe Gary. We all have nights like this. You were right, Gary, but we finally got it licked. Let's see. And then we had a couple of others. Remember we had Brian on and Jorge, but they're gone. Okay, so we're live stacking. Let's darken this. I don't think we have to do another color mapping. Simon's still here. Let's put this single crosshair up and let's zoom in. So it's just to the left, supposedly. Could be right here. Oh, yeah, there it is. Yeah, you would need a Hubble Space Telescope to enjoy it. But I suppose if somebody had a, a 1200 or a 2200 or a 3200 focal length scope, not like my 600 and something, Let's save exactly a scene just because we can. Stop stacking and let's go to G280 here. And let's say new observation. Well, this was another HST object. But we visited it just the same. Now we can go to M79 and see what M79 looks like. Let's back off. Yeah. If we back off, it shows us our tracking better. That's funny. The telescope leads the way, and then this field of view thing follows after it. And if I go over and get the slewing, you can watch it slew outside. And then there's also this view. Wow, that's showing you the moonlight. Just look how amazing that moonlight is. I mean, that moonlight is just wreaking havoc. But are these lists in Starry Night created by yourself, Doug? Yes. You know what I'll do is I'm going to do a video on how to make those, but I'll just show you briefly, just ever so briefly. You use a thing called Advanced Find. Let me start the live stack while we're doing this. This is what? M79. M79. We did slew a little ways, so we should have like a degree. Oh, nope. 9/100ths of a degree here, even though we slewed quite a ways. Now let's start the live stacking and clear. Okay, now while it's live stacking, let me show you what we did. This advanced find works like this. You give the see. You leave it blank if you don't want to. So if the name is anything, you can choose a database of a kind of thing. So like I chose originating database. I chose Deep Sky. And then under Deep Sky, I chose and the type is Globular Cluster. And then I did it again later with an open cluster. Then I did make the magnitude between like off the charts -20 up to like 10, or I forget what I put it in. But I didn't make this, I didn't change the size. So it was picking any size object. And then you do a find, and then it finds all those objects, and then you can say, add these to whatever list you want or give it a new name. So it's a pretty sophisticated, but as I look here, one thing it doesn't have is the size of the objects. So you'd have to do that manually as you go through the list. But I just got the list down to where it was like 30 objects, you know. And I said, okay, we'll just try to hit as many of these 30 as we can. So I really like the advanced finder. It's kind of like the finder in Astro Planner, frankly, to be honest. It's almost the same. All right, so we're at M79, and Let's go over to sharp cap. Oh my goodness, look how pretty this is. Now that's at 100%. Let's back off and get the full grandeur of this, maybe at something like that. This is more our style, isn't it? Look at that. So now let's go over to the info on M79. And it basically says, through binoculars, it resembles a fuzzy star. So this would only resolve to a star, a fuzzy looking star in binoculars. But a small telescope starts to show a compressed core. It's a very small angular size for a globular cluster. So it's a very tiny object, even so. Look at that. On February 3rd, we observed this. My first globular cluster looks like Christmas. So let's do a new observation and say, wow, we came back to this in celebration of Christmas, and it sure looks the part. This was so refreshing after looking at those HST clusters. And that's all we got to do. I mean, it's so quick, isn't it? Let me see if there's an image of this in Starry Night Pro. Yeah, there's Starry Night's Pro image. And there's our RASA field of view. So now let's go over to the real time. This is our actual field of view. Look at these 4 stars down here in a row. Bam, 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 bam. That kind of points to it. Did your comments from Astro Planner get imported to Starry Night? Yes. but I had to do it. I had to do it one at a time. Yeah. I had like a couple of hundred, or I forget how many, 39 sessions and like 200 some observations, and I just copied and pasted the text in from them, and I imported everything the poor man's way. Because Starry Night Pro does not yet have the capability to import using that open astronomy log, is it? OAL protocol. It can export to OAL, but it can't import yet. But I talked to the team that's developing it, and guess what? They're working on it. And they've hired a new guy to focus on the live sky web portion of Starry Night Pro. And the guy is working on the OAL importer right now. When he finishes it, by the way, it'll import to both Sky Safari and Starry Night Pro. So we get the good of the big number of people that are using the app on Sky Safari, and we're getting some of their sway, and then we'll enjoy it for Starry Night Pro on what I would consider the pro side. This is the Starry Night Pro is the product made for professional astronomers and high level, I believe, amateurs. Sky Safari to me is the layperson's planetarium program that you can use wirelessly with a phone, you know. But I think once people see all the capabilities of Starry Night Pro again and rediscover that, they're going to want Starry Night Pro if they're like a professional astronomer or an enthusiast high-level amateur. They're going to want Starry Night Pro, I think. And we're going to enjoy the benefit of that large user base of all the fans, the fanboys of Sky Safari. Anyway, this is a beautiful cluster, and I think it really does remind me of Christmas. I see you put here, yikes. Yeah, it really didn't take as long as you think, because I used copy and paste for the text. And boy, Starry Night Pro is fast. It is fast to log your observations. I'm going to be honest. I probably had 200 or 300 observations, and I did them all in probably 5 hours, 4 or 5 hours. So it went very fast. So there it is, in honor of Christmas. I should have some Christmas music playing, shouldn't I? That's beautiful. Doesn't that look like Christmas lights? Like somebody rigged those up outside their house? Okay. 7 minutes. Let's save exactly a scene. And stop live stacking. You have to minimize what's in front of Starry Night Pro. And let's uncheck that. Now this one, look, it says it's not visible. And we have to trust that if it says it's not visible, it really isn't visible. Looks like you may have a double star 2 on sharp cap towards top right. Oh man, that would be awesome if we did. I forgot to look for that. Where were those 4 stars? I thought we had some stars pointing at it. There's that big white one there. Yeah, a double star up there. You were thinking of checking the field of view? You might get copyright problems if you play music. Yeah, I'd have to find some royalty-free Christmas music. You're right. Is that hard to do, to find royalty-free Christmas music? I don't even know if we can. But anyway, I want to check the field of view. Let's do it on the next object. I wonder what that is. It's a double star as well. Boy, I love this on... Look, you can just hover and find things. Spiral Galaxy. See, in Astro Planner, I was really missing all this. The ability to do the planning and the observing with, like in concert with the planetarium software. I was missing it on Astro Planner. And in Sky Safari, I was missing it because it wasn't precise enough, because it would like fail on me. Even when I was running it through that thing called, what was it called that we started using? It was a more robust way to do it. Even when I did it with that more robust way, it was more robust, but it still would fail and not be precise. But this, I love it. It's following the gaze of the telescope no matter where it goes. I just love that idea. Speaking of which, let's gaze somewhere else. We have these NGCs. Let's try them. Look, M79 was on here twice. Can I remove that from this list? Oh, look, it checks it in both places. That's odd, isn't it? I wonder if I would have to go up here. I know a place I could remove it. Let's go over and look at that. Isn't the RASA's image a mirror of what you see in the planetarium view? No, because in SharpCap, I've gone here to image controls or somewhere. Where is it? You know what I'm looking for. Here it is. Flip. Under camera controls, I have it flipped horizontally to correct for that. Because you're right. Without that, it's the mirror image. Good question, Frank. Oh, I know what I was going to show you. Look at this. If we go to livesky.com, this has a real-time web connection to what I'm doing. And I can look under observations, and it's going to show what I just observed, M79. And not only that, on the dashboard, it shows how other people are doing in their observations and lets you see your observations compared to others. Now, look at my observations, man. They have really shot up, haven't they, over the past couple of days? Because I put in all these imported manual observations. So I am knocking the mercury out of the top of the thermometer because I'm importing all these from Astro Planner. But that's done. Now it's real observations. But look how I'm passing up all the users in the world that are on Sky Safari and Starry Night Pro doing observations. And to be honest, I don't know how many people use that. But it lets you see real time what people are doing here. And somewhere on this board, there's a little dot for Emerald Hills Skies, for Doug. Doug is a dot right now. And one of these, this shows you real time people who are right now observing. That's kind of cool, isn't it? It gives you a bunch of metrics. And then look what you can do here. You can see what you just observed. Like we just went to M79 and it doesn't have thumbnail objects for these Hubble Space Telescope versions, by the way. And then notice it has me in this Christmas cluster thing, and I've done 5 observations. And then on the observing list, I can go to the Christmas clusters for globs, and there's M79 here, M79 there, and I can say, show me all those entries, and I can find M79 down here. Maybe because I'm in the middle of this? I bet because I'm in the middle of this session now. It is, the only thing it's showing me is now look at that. Observing list details. Okay, here we go. I'm going to go to all entries and go to this and say delete the second M79, and it deletes it. And then I'm going to save that. And then that will sync it back to Starry Night Pro. Isn't that fun? I think they want to emphasize this web version a lot more in the coming days. So for instance, they've hired a programmer at Simulation Curriculum, and his full-time job is to make this better. From now on, he's 24/7. He's just working on livesky.com. So that'll make the connections better to both programs. This is my field of view indicator, by the way. So that's pretty cool. So it would let us edit it real time, and then it would sync it back to Starry Night Pro. So that's the Live Sky deal. AZ4 Runner, thanks a lot for checking in. We're on the outskirts of Louisville, Kentucky. So we're about Bortle 5, Bortle 6, right on the line between Bortle 5 and Bortle 6 on the outskirts of Louisville. Frank said, thumbs up. I'm on the Starry Night site. I see there's multiple versions. The version you want is Starry Night Pro. There's no sense of buying anything less. Because why? Because none of the others underneath it have telescope control. So you got to get the Pro, Starry Night Pro. And you pick up a lot of power with the Pro version also. I'll be doing these videos as time goes on cloudy nights, and you'll see I titled the thread 1,000 Reasons Why I Love Starry Night Pro. And you could do 1,000 videos, honestly. They won't all be as long as some of the ones I'm doing. Some of them would be very short. But there are 1,000 reasons why I like this program. And you got to get the Pro to enjoy that all. Good question, by the way, Simon. All right, let's go back to, let's see. Let's go back to Starry Night Pro now. And we've just finished M79. And because NGC 288. Oh, look what you can do. If you check this and then you pull this up, you can see when a particular object is going to be visible. And right now it's stuck on Omega Centauri. So obviously I don't know how to use this yet. Start graphing, maybe. There it is. So look, can we get rid of Omega Centauri? Stop charting. Okay. So this chart shows you, let's see, I'm kind of colorblind, but I think I can make this out. This is the sun, and this is the moon, and in the center of this chart is our current time, 1:15 a.m. So this object is at, see, 8 degrees right now. No, I'm sorry. This object sat already. This object sat right here about an hour ago. So you see how that works? And you can enlarge this up to right there. So it's a pretty cool deal. Now we'll hope we can redraw that, huh? How do I get it to redraw that? Maybe when I... Boy, it sure messed it up, didn't it? Maybe what I'll have to do is leave it and then come back to it. Or maybe not. Maybe... How do I refresh the view? Maybe once I go to the next object. So let's go to this NGC. Look, it's on there twice too. We'll have to remove that one as well. Let's slew to NGC 1049, and maybe when it starts redrawing. Wow. That's pretty low on the horizon. I don't know if you can see our scope right now. It's almost parallel. So I bet that one is, we need to graph this as well. NGC 1049, start graphing. Well, I made our graph too big, didn't I? What if I do this and this? Wow. How do I let's go out here and say Starry Night Pro, how to refresh the screen. How to refresh, how to redraw the screen. You know what I'm going to do? I'm not going to pull that graph up so high anymore, because that is definitely causing us havoc, isn't it? Well, sky. Redraw. Refresh. Having not seen that, I'm going to bring up telescope control. Stop following the scope. Telescope setup. Disconnect. And I'm going to leave Starry Night Pro and reopen it and just not pull that graph up so high anymore. I could have tried to minimize and back again. You're right. Good point, Dan. Thanks for chipping in. I don't know where you're speaking from, Dan. Telescope setup, connect. Telescope control, follow scope. Yeah. So see, our scope is below that horizon. Let's open up our preferences file, see if it stays connected. Now that's my horizon. I just started live streaming on my channel. Any pointers? Check Google for your area for the best psychotherapist you can find. Dan Bartlett, California. Okay, so that's at the horizon. This line here is the actual horizon, and then this is my custom horizon. So we're not going to be able to see this object. Let's find this list we're working off of, which is this. Yeah, it's showing it now as below the horizon. So it knew it wasn't going to be long for this world. Let's go to this NGC2298. And you can see the scope is coming around. Now the iOptron mount software, which is called iOptron Commander, is supposed to have good protection to keep the mount from colliding with the tripod. And let's just trust and hope that it does. Oh, this is up in the sky, so that's good. Yeah, Curtis is right. I was joking about this. I wasn't really. I was joking about the psychotherapist. You can go to Cloudy Nights and look for the EAA forum and use that announcement to announce it. That's one thing you can do. AZ Forerunner gave me the benefit of a good laugh. I wasn't joking. If you saw the beginning of this live stream tonight, you know that I was 2 hours late getting started because of a problem learning to connect to this mount. And I hope now that we have our fix, so we'll know how to fix that next time. I hope. Look at this. We better hurry up to this object. It is just low in our south sky, and it's supposed to be above our obstacles. So let's go take a gander at this. There's not a graphic in Starry Night Pro that I can see. So let's go now to Sharp Cap, and let's put in our target. And what was it again? NGC 2298. NGC 2298. Let's do, we slewed the entire sky that time. I mean, this, if you can see where the scope is pointing, we are at the polar opposite end of the sky. And we did. We got off about 0.22 degrees during that long slew, which really isn't the end of the world. 0.2 of a degree, 2200ths. But now we're syncing and correcting that, and now it'll enter that into the model. And next time we slew to this part of the sky, we'll be a whole lot closer. Okay, so now we're synced. So we're ready to start live stacking now. clear the last live stack. Dan says, Doug, have you given up on Sky Safari for Windows, or are you leaning to Starry Night? For me personally, I'm doing a lot more than leaning. For me, for my purposes, because there's not a native Windows app for Sky Safari, I just got tired of all the workarounds. I mean, as you know, I started out using, or you might know, I started out using Sky Safari in Android through BlueStacks, and then I switched to using Sky Safari through the Alpaca programming that a bunch of guys are doing a great job on, by the way. But just for me, it still broke sometimes. And I just would be in the middle of a live stream like this, and my connection with Sky Safari would break. And it was too embarrassing, and I couldn't get it back. I couldn't negotiate all that stuff to get it back. So I just said, okay, I am over it. I'm just going to stop using Sky Safari. And I am now all in on Starry Night Pro, to the point that, if you heard me talking a while ago, I've spent about 5 hours transferring all my observations for the past 12 months into Starry Night Pro's observation routine, so I can also let go of Astro Planner. So I've lost 2 programs in the last 3 weeks. Don't tell my wife how quickly I can unfreeze on things, please. Look at this. Is this really, this is the globular that we're looking at, isn't it? I mean, if you look at it full screen, this is what you see, and you can see it's pretty small. Let's do a color correction for this part of the night sky, because the moon is not impacting this part of the night sky quite as much. Dan, gotcha. We really don't need much stretching of this, because these are, and that's the whole reason I chose Globular Clusters tonight with a 99% full moon. And it's the whole reason I picked, and because of the Christmas time. I think they look like Christmas lights. Let's go to like 75% on this and look at that. That is remarkable. Now, I tell you what else we can do here. We can snap a snapshot of this using screenshot software. And I forget the name of the screenshot software I use, but it's pretty cool. I'll get you the name in just a second. I'm going to come out to about right here and snap that picture of this. And then you go down here and give it a name, and I'll just call it save as NGC 2298. I'm going to put that in SharpCap Captures. I mean, in the desktop, yeah, SharpCap Captures. NGC 2298 snapshot, screenshot, whatever you want to call that. And on something tiny like this, I like that. Now, let me see if I can get you the name of what I'm using. Wow, it's not telling me. I'll have to... How can I find the name of that? Oh, well. Anyway, it's any kind of good screenshot software that you found that you like. But I do like the one that I'm using. Rats, I wonder if I have it saved in here in one of these screens, or if it's an app and it wouldn't let me save it. But I really like the one I'm using because it lets you do regions. I'm gonna have to look that up and put it in the description, I guess. It must just be one of these kind of apps, like Screen Shot snapshot. Well, now this is bothering me. All I'm on a wild goose chase, aren't I? More. How do you see everything you've got? All apps. There we go. Let me just scan through this real quick and see if I can pick this out real quick, because it's a great little screenshot program. If you see it, speak up, please. How will you recognize it? Earphone View, by the way, is the picture program I'm using now. Well, isn't that crazy? I really like this program and I don't have any idea the name of it. Anyway, it let me snapshot a region, and there are probably other ways to do that, I'm sure. Let's save this whole thing though, and then let's stop live stacking, and let's go back over to NGC 2298 and do our observation of this and say this, by the way, this happens to me, and I'm going to ask the people at Simulation Curriculum about this. Look, that log entry didn't work, and sometimes it does that. Add a log entry. This, now it's working. This cluster reminds me of Christmas too. Tiny but very visible in our RASA field, RASA field of view. And that's all there is to it now. So I've left Astro Planner behind, with deep respect to Paul and the guys at Astro Planner. This is just so fast now. Can I convince you to live stack M46? Yeah, is M46, what we're on tonight are clusters. Is M46 a cluster? Let me think. M46, yes, it's a cluster. I know that one. Let's leave that list for a second, and let's search for M46 and center it. Oh, that's right. I'm tied to the telescope. So what I have to do is slew there. Slew to M46. And I'll back off so we can watch it slew. I'll bring the mount there so we can keep an eye on the mount. That's pretty quick. Nice. Wow, it's nice. Wow. Looks like a snowball. M46 coming up. Wow. Dan, thanks. That was a good idea. Let's take this out to auto, and let's just check our plate solve real quick on this. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Dan. That's a beautiful object. It's interesting. I'm trying to memorize. Frank can tell you because Frank and I, 4/400ths of a degree is all it was off. Frank and I just worked on it the other night on a live stream. I'm trying to memorize the Messier list of objects, and M46 is one that I've worked on. So I kind of know what it looks like, but I had forgotten that it would be perfect for this. So clear out the last live stack. While that's starting to live stack, let's come back over here to Starry Night Pro and let's come to M46 info, and it says it's a large and rich open cluster that contains over 500 stars. It makes a lovely sight in binoculars, as two other open clusters, M47 and NGC2423, are visible in the same field of view. Rats, we should have checked to see if we can get those. 2423, I remember that. 47 and 2423. Let's see if we can move this out of the way. Yeah. I don't know if we have that or not. So this might be worth our time to check this. I think that's M47. So let's stop our live stacking here and tell you what we'll do. Let's stop this and go back over here to Starry Night Pro again. And minimize the thing in front of Starry Night Pro. Minimize the thing. Okay, and let's do this. Like, see where my hand is. Now, what I love about Starry Night Pro is you can pick out a spot in the sky where there isn't an object. Now, see, there's M47, and here's M46. So I'm going to pick right in between those two. And it doesn't matter if there's an object there or not. And I'm going to say slew to this location. And it'll take us there, even though there is no object there to use as a guide. And it's so quick to do that. So as you can see, I think we framed this up okay. Now, what was the other object? 2423. Where is? Oh, look, it's right up here. So again, I'm gonna say, give us something like this. And it did find an object that time when that wasn't quite enough. Look at that. That's so fast. Just right click, slew to this location. Too much. I wonder if it went to that location and the field of view is still catching up on us. Yeah, the field of view is catching up. Okay, I like that. I think that's going to get pretty much everything. We're a little bit, let's go a little bit over here to get the rest of M46. Starry Night Pro, man. This would have never worked in Astro Planner, and I don't think we can do this in Sky Safari because you don't get the field of view synchronized this closely to follow your gaze. I just love this. No looking back, I'm telling you. Look how precise you can tune this to get your framing set up correctly. And then when you zoom in, okay, I like that. Now let's go back to SharpCap and let's live stack that and clear the stack. 2438, yeah. So here's, oh, I see, 2438, yeah. There's 2438, M46. We might pick up whatever this is. Open cluster there. So there's M47, and here's NGC 2423. So 3 clusters, I hope. Let's go back over to SharpCap now, and let's, oh, that is the full sky. Wow. So what do you make of that? It looks like our RASA tipped over on its back. And when it tipped over on its back, look at this. My little observing window stayed in the middle of SharpCap. So I'm going to close that. Oh yeah, this is the one with the planetary nebula. Wonder if we can pick that planetary nebula out of M46. Should be in the lower left-hand corner, but see, that's what I was saying. Because our RASA went over on its back, I don't think our field of view is exactly, after all that trouble we went to, I don't think it's exact. Oh yeah, look, there's that planetary nebula. Oh yeah, this is beautiful. Let's go to 100%, and let's come down here. Look at that. Now that planetary nebula, let's get that name as well. Minimize the thing in front of the planetary nebula. Oh, that is the 2438. Yeah. Again, remember last week, Frank, when we were working on this, we were memorizing this. Is that frost on your dew shield? Yes. This is frost. And I tell you what, you can see it better right here. Look at that view. That's the scope top, like riding on top of the scope. And all of this residue here, that's all frost. Except instead of the frost is on the pumpkin, that's frost on the RASA. And this thing here, I imagine, that's probably the moon. That thing that looks like a beacon. We'll look in Starry Night Pro in a second. I think that's the moon. I love this. I love it that we can see this planetary nebula. And we zoom in closer to M46 to 100%. Yeah. So that's 2438. So let's go to 2438 real quick. And Starry Night Pro. Minimize the thing in front of Starry Night Pro. So I'm gonna click on this and wait until, now notice how M46 is superimposed over the top, but look what Starry Night Pro can do. I'm going to right click here and I'm going to say select another object, and it's going to show me the objects that are in the area, and it shows them to you by name, broken down by categories. Ask yourself, does your planetarium program do this? Okay, now I'm going to select NGC 2438, and now notice when I hover over it now, it's like bring to front. If you're used to something like Photoshop, it brought that to front. And I right click and do a new observation of this and say, I know it's, oh, now this is this problem of this. Sometimes that's all the farther I can type. So I got to talk to the simulation curriculum people about this. For the time being, I just have to say delete log entry and then open up a new one. I know it's globular cluster night, but couldn't help but note that this planetary nebula is so cool looking, superimposed over M46. Hats off to Dan Bartlett, who requested this object, this target. It was gorgeous. It really is gorgeous. So that's that observation. And now let's do the M46 observation. Beautiful cluster indeed, with a bonus planetary nebula. Thanks, Dan. You don't have to hit save. You just X out and it saves it. Not only saves it in Starry Night Pro, which is on your desktop, but also if you go over to Live Sky and you click on observations, those observations are already in livesky.com. And what's more, you are already getting credit for doing these observations on the leaderboard. And notice how Emerald Hills Skies is green in the leaderboard, and we are way above the world, which is blue, in our observations, having done approximately 250 observations this last 24 hours, which is moving everything over from Astro Planner. But I digress. Oh, this is fun. It's 1:46, so we're in our last, I said we stop at 2, so we're in the last 15 minutes here. Let's back off now and look at the whole thing of M46. Oh, wait, we should snap a picture of that planetary nebula while we can. And I'll use my little screenshot deal. And this is save as NGC 2438 planetary on 2021-12-20. And now let's back out to look at all of M46. So it's down here. Boy, we barely got it. It's right here. So I'll snap a picture of it. It's this whole thing here. And that's save as M46. Oh, look, there's that other. Oh, no, that's the stack. I should name this snapshot. And save exactly as seen. And then let's back out to the whole picture, because this was another object up here, wasn't it? That was, minimize what's in front of Starry Night Pro. Minimize what's in front of Starry Night Pro. That was NGC 2423, or M47, rather. Stop live stacking. And minimize what's in front of Starry Night Pro. M47. Well, we could have just went over and we didn't have to look it up, did we? Now it's putting that right in the middle of our frame. And there's M47 just in a live 10-second shot. So let's just grab that while we're here. M47 live stack clear. Simon, no wonder you are remotely using your scope. 32 degrees here today and forecast 40 degrees on Christmas Day. You know, it is every bit of that in Louisville, Simon. Let's just get the 26. And it feels like 26. With the wind chill, it would, I mean, it chills you to the bone. So I'm telling you, I would not be a faithful observer, especially using a laptop. My fingers would be freezing right now. So there's M47. That's beautiful too. Wow, look at all those. I was going to say a word about globular clusters, and this is our last 11 minutes. What I've been learning about globular clusters is, first of all, they're very old. Like the apparent age of a globular cluster can be 1 million to 10 million years old. The apparent age of the universe is just 10 or 12 million years old. So they date back to the apparent dawn of time for the universe. Globular clusters are different because the stars are mostly older stars that are typically on their main sequence aging out, like the yellow stars and the red stars. There are exceptions. There are a few now that have been found, especially that are noted as exceptions. And then even then, astronomers wonder if they were collisions with an open cluster, and the globular cluster captured the open cluster stars. So the globular clusters don't have as much nebulosity. They probably, if you stop and think about them, they're more like a little miniature hive of bees of their own, like a little miniature city or a colony of these main sequence stars that are yellow and orange and old, 10 million years. They don't travel very fast. I mean, they could be on the order of literally, for example, 5 kilometers per second. You know, not very fast compared to other things in the universe. Another interesting thing about globular clusters I'm learning is that they don't typically move around in the plane of the galaxy they're in. Like the Milky Way galaxy, they don't move around in the plane of the Milky Way. Instead, they kind of remind you of comets. You know how a comet can be, I mean, the kind of comet that is like far-reaching, that sails out in the sky and then we don't see it for 80,000 years. Globular clusters are like that. They're orbiting sometimes in right angles and perpendicular to the plane of the Milky Way. And if you back off the Milky Way and look at them, they are the things that sort of throw off our average of the plane of the Milky Way disk. So there are all kinds of theories as to how that happened. Some people say, well, they might be captured by a galaxy. Some people say that's just the way they formed in the beginning. Some people say they never really had dust. They just formed as a glob of stars that are tightly wound together, and their gravity is so tight, whereas an open cluster might be 100 stars or a few hundred stars, for example. A globular cluster might be thousands of stars or even 1 million stars, like Simon, your, what is it called? Omega Centauri, right? The biggest granddaddy of them all. So globular clusters are interesting because they are so old, and yet I just want to keep saying the word apparent age, because I know that time is all relative. Remember Einstein's theory? It's all relative, depend on where you're standing. Maybe time as we know it, I mean, all you have to do is watch Interstellar. You realize that it's all relative. So maybe time as we know it gets bent. And the smartest astronomers of our day haven't yet figured out how to measure that. So all of these ages that we talk about, they're all relative to where we are and how fast we're speeding. But in a relative way, it looks like these globular clusters are slower. And these M47s, let's go look at M47 for a second, and I'll minimize the thing in front of M47. That's an open cluster. And M46 was an open cluster as well. So these open clusters, as you can see, there's a lot more space between these stars, and they tend to be bluer and whiter and hotter, and they are not as gravitationally bound. So one of the reasons why people think that they look newer is because they don't last very long. They won't last 10 million years because they're not gravitationally bound. And as they swing by things like the center bulge of the Milky Way, they might get pulled apart, and they won't even be an open cluster someday anymore because all the stars will be removed. These open clusters do tend to hang out in the plane of the Milky Way more than the globular clusters do, so they're different in that respect as well. So I really like it that Dan got us here. Simon is saying, it's been fun. Thanks for the streaming, Doug. Glad that you got the CEM70 working at last. I just want to say goodbye to all of you guys. I know you've been so faithful to hang around with us. Here's our final live stack of M47. And we'll just save exactly a scene. And then let's zero in a little bit on that and do a, let's make sure we get, boy, this is a very busy star area, isn't it? There's this open cluster, M47. So this is M47 on 2021, 1220. And this is snapshot. I'll stop the live stacking and go back to, wow, I really wish that our first 2 hours and 20 minutes would have worked as well as the last 2 hours have. Thank you guys for being willing to work with this. I'm learning a lot and I'm having fun, and I hope you are as well with your observing. Thank you for being a part of this live stream. It's an honor. If you watch this and you made it all the way to the end, you are a survivor. I really wish you would subscribe. It helps drive up the channel in everybody's algorithms. They see it a lot more. If you hit thumbs up, even more so. If you put a comment in, ask a question, we'll try to answer it to the video. We'll try to answer it. And I hope you have a great Christmas. This is probably the last live stream that I'll be doing before Christmas. I think there's some clouds now forecast over the next few nights. I do have another video coming about another thing that I like about Starry Night Pro, and it's some undocumented, never previously documented instructions on how to make that thing happen. And I hope you'll come back and catch that. You'll see it if you subscribe. Thank you so much for being a part of this, and I'm going to close things down. I have to go to work tomorrow. My work day starts at 9 a.m. Eastern, so I'm up at 7. So 2 a.m., I'll get home at 2:30 or 3 and at least get a nap in. I know the same might be for you. Thanks a lot for being a part. We have several that have stuck with us the whole time. God bless you, and I'm going to say goodnight from Emerald Hills Skies here. Don't forget to keep on keeping on during these tough times, And thanks for being a part of this. Emerald Hills Skies. Don't forget to check the channel, Emerald Hills Skies on YouTube, and we'll look forward to seeing you again. God bless and good night.